can count.
3, 2, 1. All right, it's happy hour somewhere, so it's time for another episode of Drinkin' Dusties.
Absolutely.
Straight up top here, though, remember to mash that subscribe button right down there.
No, it's over here.
No, it is over here.
No,
I
it's over
swear
here.
to you, it's
It's
over
over
here. It's
here.
always over right there.
You know, I edit these videos, so I'm going to make sure that it's over
I
here.
watch the videos, and it's right there. Anyway, if you really like what we're doing, maybe support us on Patreon as well. And for that, we always pick out a Patreon supporter, and we send them a little sweet tasty of one of our past Dusty draws. So you get that.
We bribe you for your support.
Absolutely.
So we love to drink with you guys, not just on our own.
All right.
We should, for anybody who hasn't seen us before, I'm Charles Cox.
I'm Steve Russell.
And we like bourbon.
Yeah.
So we're going to drink some old stuff that but should it be opened, these bottles? Because they're museum pieces, really.
Some of them more than others.
Exactly.
But I do believe in drinking them, so take it from there, Charles.
All right. Well, this one is especially, I'm really excited about this week's bottle, but don't we normally have a box of mystery?
We do normally.
What happened to it?
It's a mystery.
Oh, all right. Well, then we'll just reach back to the shelf and pull out what we got this week, because I'm excited to have you try a bottle of Old Overholt.
Bing, bang, bang.
Straight rye. So this was distilled in the fall of 1931. Do you know what was going on in 1931?
I mean, I was small.
You know what was going on alcohol-wise?
I believe there was a little thing called Prohibition going on.
Exactly. So this was actually made during Prohibition, but then it was distilled during Prohibition. They had a license to do so.
Okay.
It wasn't bootleg whiskey.
All right.
But then it was bottled after. So this was bottled in the fall of 1936. Really, really, really excited to get to try a bottle this old of Old Overholt straight rye. So this is really exciting.
So old Overholt.
Right, exactly. Very, very old. So this is admittedly today, Old Overholt is kind of a bottom shelf whiskey, although they're trying to upgrade it. They've got some higher level versions. We're actually going to try one in a sec. Back then, this was a really, really coveted rye, and rye at the time was the most popular American whiskey, much more popular than bourbon. So this is especially special because it's an Old Monongahela type of rye, which is the traditional Pennsylvania rye, and it has been brought back by Jim Beam, who now owns the name.
Okay.
They have a Monongahela mash version. So rather than trying this old one against the current day regular Old Overholt, which is, to be fair, bartenders love Old Overholt, especially bottled in bond because it's cheap but still has a lot of flavor to it. But this one they're trying to make like this old style Monongahela. Sorry to those of you from Pennsylvania. I apologize for butchering it.
You're doing a great job.
Monongahela. But they're trying to make it in that style. Now it's a little bit misleading because it's still made in Kentucky. And the rye is sourced from various places, so it's not actually from Pennsylvania.
Okay.
With that name on it, you'd think, oh yeah, it's from the Monongahela Valley, if you know anything about Pennsylvania. But it's not.
Okay.
It's just, but they're doing it with the same basic mash bill. So we're going to try this one first. And while I pour this, we're going to talk a little bit about that unique style, what made it so good. So it's named after the Monongahela. Here, why don't you open it? Talk.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The Monongahela River in western PA. It winds from West Virginia up into Pennsylvania and into Pittsburgh, where it merges with the Allegheny and becomes the Ohio. You've heard of the Ohio, right?
I have indeed.
Okay, perfect. So Jim Beam now owns it, and they're farmers back in western Pennsylvania, back in those colonial times. They predominantly grew rye. That's what they knew from Germany when they came over. A lot of them were German farmers, and it grew great in the Monongahela Valley. Corn didn't really grow there so well, so they were able to distill their surplus grain into this distinctive style, which was really the first American whiskey to gain any sort of widespread recognition outside of the U.S. So I don't know if you get a different flavor on the nose or different nose than you would get. I don't get a lot of the spiciness that I normally get from it.
I get some of it. I get a little rye spicy smell out of it. It just hits kind of the front of my nose a little bit.
A lot of corn. It smells like corn. But back then, the mash bill was typically 4-to-1 with no corn at all. So it was 4 parts rye to 1 part malted barley.
Okay.
And so that was just easier for them to make then. They also had a 3-chamber pot still, which, as we know from talking to Nicole Austin, that does so well. She was talking about how that makes typically a more full-bodied, richer flavor. It was kind of a hybrid of pot stills and column stills, where you had basically 3 pot stills stacked on top of each other. And so it was a semi-continuous distilling thing. So historically, this type of rye is best known for sparking our country's first rebellion. the Whiskey Rebellion, 1794. Yeah. So that was, there were 600 distillers, various farms, who were ordered for the first time to have to pay taxes to on their whiskey to help replenish the national coffers and to pay off some of our debts after the Revolutionary War. Naturally, they didn't like that so much. Right? So they refused to pay it. It was created by Alexander Hamilton, that blowhard, to try to raise revenue. Didn't work so well. President Washington basically had to build a new army, march 13,000 troops to try to squash it. But the rebellion's leaders fled before the soldiers got there. So there was actually no killing going on. There were some casualties just like through accidents and stuff like that. 150 people were arrested. 20 were tried. 2 were convicted. Only 2 out of that whole group, and they were later pardoned. Okay. So there was really no ramifications of it, and the tax proved impossible to collect anyway. And then when Jefferson and Burr, when their administration came in, the Democratic Republicans said, "We hate this tax; it's gone." So it really had no lasting effect in that regard. The lasting effects it did have, 2 main things: created our standing army, because we had disbanded the army after the Revolution, and it hardened the political beliefs, the beliefs about how government should operate into 2 opposing camps, the Federalists then and the Democratic Republicans. Obviously, we have different parties.
What's great is that we don't tax liquor today.
Yeah, and nor do we have political disputes.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's great. But we know that, as we know, enjoying great liquor together can help solve a lot of political disputes. If only our politicians would do more of that. So, so back to the whiskey. Okay. Back then it was all unaged white dog. This obviously is not. But what got it really noticed is they started storing and the whiskey in wooden barrels, as we've discussed, and it produced a red-colored aged whiskey. So that's what made people start calling it Old Monongahela. That's why all these old brands, they were actually called old back then too, and that was often a signifier that it was actually aged as opposed to the white dog. There's a great quote from the Whiskey Rebellion. I'm just going to read this from my sheet here. It was the mediator trying to settle the disputes, former state assemblyman in Pennsylvania, Hugh Henry Brackenridge. He wrote, "The people were mad. It never came into my head to use force on the occasion. I thought it safest to use good words and good drink rather than balls and powder. It cost me 4 barrels of old whiskey that day, and I would rather spare that than a quart of blood."
Wow.
That's a great quote. I like that.
Wow,
all right. So now we can finally taste it. Okay. Okay, I got a lot more rye spice on the tongue than I got in my nose. I don't know if you agree.
I got it, and it still hit my nose somehow on swallowing it.
I mean, it's got some power to it. It's not quite 100 proof, 95 proof. I thought it was 100. So it's not bottled in bond. Obviously, Overholt has their bottled in bond labeling as well. This is just shy of it.
It's warm.
Yeah, it's got a lot of honey. Some raisins almost.
That's much of the raisins for me, but the honey for sure.
A lot of people describe like a browned butter flavor. I'm not sure I get that. It's not very buttery. What do you think?
I wouldn't have thought that unless you said it. I'm getting the honey. Like I said, I'm getting a real warm feeling from it. And
a warm feeling towards your fellow man.
Well, not present company excluded.
Is this going to put down your personal Whiskey Rebellion?
Yes, it might do the job. But yeah, I mean, it tastes to me like just not an overpowering rye. It's rye, but not an overpowering rye.
You're going to hate me saying this.
Yes.
You're going to say I'm saying this just because it's a bean product.
Yeah.
I get peanut brittle.
I'm not going to fight that. I'm actually not going to fight.
I mean, that's for those of you who know bean products. It's sort of a distinctive trait of anything they make, that it's got a little bit of peanut quality in there that you can never quite. But those baking spices, those rice spices. Yeah, I don't hate that.
Yeah,
I would never sip the bottom level Old Overholt. I have, so I can't say I would never, but I. Wouldn't again.
Right.
The bottled in bond is perfectly serviceable for making cocktails, but this is a better sipping one. All right, so we're gonna put this one away.
All right.
So a little subdued for a rye. I expect a little more power to it, but I don't know. Maybe we could use a little more aging to bring it up a little bit. But all right. So not a bad bottle. All right. So while I appreciate Beam going back and trying to create, not just take the name because they bought the name in 1987, but actually try to recreate that old mash bill. I think it's going to probably taste a lot different than this. So,
I think so.
This is, as we said, Old Overholt straight rye, bottled in bond, distilled 1931, bottled in 1935. So,
holy cow! So you're saying it's time to drink that
dusty? I know. I'm terrified. I'm terrified. So this, let's think about it. This bottle was sealed in 1935. You see tax stripped, intact all the way around. And we're about to...
it's totally filled up, guys. If you can probably tell, it's it's about half full, I guess. I'll take the optimist view. It's half full.
It's 91 years this has been closed up.
That's crazy. Don't.
I have to. That's what we do,
Go
right?
ahead. Yes.
I'm drinking Dusty's. And I didn't pay anything for this. Did you know that?
So where did it come from?
I stole it. No.
That's fantastic.
So this is why it's great to have great friends, or in this case, a great friend of a great friend. So a guy in my whiskey group back in New Jersey, I can't get this open,
really?
He has a friend, Eric Henley, who has a friend who inherited in the basement of the house from his grandfather some old bottles, and this was one of them. His grandfather was Jonathan Blum. He's Jonathan Blum. His grandfather was Max Blum, who was a haberdasher in Newark. It's got a metal, so the cork came off, or the screw cap, but inside is like a metal. I think we may need to. Can I pry this off with my fingernails? We may need like
I can get a little screwdriver or something to pop.
All right, we will pause the video.
Okay. Be right back
and go get some. So it's just foil. I thought it was something that went down inside, but it's just a piece of foil that was sort of the lining inside the cap. So I'll put that back on. Have a sniff. There's not much of an aroma to it. Maybe a little fruit. Like that.
Yeah. Huh. I want to see.
Do the Crunkleton thing of like shaking it. He shakes the bottle before he pours it.
I mean, do you want to shake this up more?
Why did he claim he did that? It was just to
redistribute anything that is
right, because it's separate. Makes logical sense, right? These things separate over time. Like any liquid is going to, and so if you have sediment on the bottom, whatever. You could also argue the other, that you want to keep the sediment on the bottom rather than tearing off the label. But we'll shake it a little bit just to mix it all up, make sure we're getting the best possible experience here. So Max Blum in Newark, he was a haberdasher in the 1930s. He got gifts given to him. He didn't really like drinking rye, so he just kept it in his basement. His son didn't like drinking rye. His grandson didn't like drinking rye. So eventually it got passed down to Eric, who offered it to us for free to try.
Really
so
nice.
Thank you.
Really
I
nice.
will definitely save some for you, Eric, to try with us, unless it sucks. So maybe he just wanted us to be the guinea pigs
right,
to make sure it works. So why don't you pour? Do you want some history of Old Overholt that I haven't said already?
Not really.
Okay, well I'm going to do it anyway.
I
so pour us some of that while I regale you with some dusty details here. It's old because it's got old in the name, and it's got a grumpy old man on the label glaring back at you. So the original story goes back to the Oberholzer family, who came over from Germany, and like so many distillers, moved to Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and then in 1800, Henry Oberholzer took his family west in a wagon train over the Allegheny Mountains, and to the western frontier. So back then the western frontier was Pennsylvania, and they created a large farm settlement called Overton, which later became West Overton. And as many immigrants do, they changed their name to Overhold and then Overholt, and they became known for being skilled weavers. But luckily, they also in 1803 built a log cabin still on their property, and by 1810, that's small real quick.
It's clear as a bell.
Oh man. Well, there's a little bit of a funky, musty small.
It's a little bit of a funky smell, but it's not cloudy. I could totally tell in here. It is not cloudy at all.
Not at all.
Yeah, it's clear as a bell.
All right. By 1810, his son Abraham, you may have heard of Abraham Overholt.
Yes.
In a lot of historical records, he's called an unruly Mennonite. So that's exactly who I want distilling my whiskey. I want unruly Mennonites distilling all whiskey from this point on. So he took over the business. His rye was really popular. Before long, he was churning out 15 gallons of rye per day, increased the size of this still 3 times until he was making 150 gallons a day in a new stone distillery by 1832, 55,000 gallons a year. When you think of how rudimentary their methods were back then, that's pretty insane. His whiskey was so popular, it even got its own brand name in a time where we didn't have brand names. It's called Old Farm Pure Rye. Then his sons, Jacob and Henry, in 1854, plus a cousin who was also named Henry, they built a larger distillery at Broad Ford on the east bank of the nearby Youghiogheny River. That one was on the rail line. It actually still exists today as a whiskey museum at West Overton Village. You can go visit it. But the same year that distillery opened, Jacob died. Abraham bought up the share of the Broadford distillery, and had 2 large distilleries operating together as A. Overholt and Company. And that became one of the country's largest whiskey makers. It was a favorite of such luminaries as Ulysses S. Grant, who we've talked about with Old Crow in previous episodes.
He liked a tipple.
Yeah, what didn't he like to drink? Yeah. Pretty much anything. And Doc Holliday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm your Huckleberry.
I'm your Huckleberry.
Abraham died in 1870, and after a few years of ownership chaos, his grandson, who happened to be millionaire coal baron Henry Clay Frick, he took over, and
No
he brought
frickin' way.
yeah, exactly. And he brought in his millionaire friend, banker Andrew Mellon, as a partner. Renamed the whiskey Old Overholt,
Yeah.
you know today, and he put Abraham's scowling face on the label. Yeah. Frick died in 1919, and Mellon was in charge right at the beginning of Prohibition.
Yeah.
He was also sworn in as Treasury Secretary of the United States, so he was responsible for deciding which distilleries got a license to keep producing whiskey. What do you think happened with Overholt? Do you think they got a license?
No, they had to stop, I'm sure.
Yeah, no. They kept going.
That's conflict of interest, Charles.
It is, but he, unlike in today's scenario with the conflict of interest, he actually, under pressure, sold off his interest in the company. So he sold the distilleries. The West Overton distillery actually closed down during Prohibition, but the larger Broadford distillery ended up in the hands of a little company. It was American Medicinal Spirits at first, and then it became National Distillers, who we've heard of. And they touted this, among three other whiskeys, as America's foremost whiskeys. Get that pun? But the problem for Overholt was that Americans' taste in whiskey had changed during Prohibition when they didn't have access to stuff. They were getting Scotch, they were getting Canadian whiskey. And rye was no longer the buzz booze. So sales plunged during the 1940s, not helped by World War II, and the Broadford distillery actually shut down in 1951, along with most other of the West Pennsylvania distilleries. And this is where the real mystery enters in their history, because Old Overholt kept existing, kept putting bottles on the shelves until Jim Beam bought it in 1987. So from 1951, the distillery shut down. 1987, Jim Beam buys it. Overholt is being produced during all that time. With all of the research that people do into whiskey nowadays, there's still no real consensus on where it was distilled at any given time in that window.
Including this bottle?
No, this bottle's from before then.
Okay.
So we do know that this one came from the Overholt distillery. Okay. So we know that one is there. So let's taste it.
Okay.
It's unpleasant at first.
It's got a little bit of a metallic quality
right up front, but then there's a fruitiness that sort of rises up.
Yeah,
a sweet. It's much better as it goes.
Yeah,
I find,
I agree.
And it's lingering a lot.
I'm gonna hit this again.
It's kind of crazy. We're drinking something that was distilled during Prohibition.
I moved it more around my mouth at times. It's actually not bad.
You doing the Kentucky Chew?
I don't go that far because that actually hurts my face.
And this isn't from Kentucky.
Right.
Broadford, Pennsylvania.
It's just I don't drink a lot of rye. I don't know if it's definitely different from
There's a weird bitterness of like a metallic bitterness at the front, but then that gets replaced by fruit and sweet, but it's not, and just like a lingering warmth.
Yeah,
it's very.
The warmth is just like the other one. Honestly, the warmth is totally there.
There's not a lot of rye spice.
I like the warmth. Yeah. And I'm getting enough rye spice that I'd probably go, this is rye if I didn't know better. But honestly, I expected it to be much more rye-y.
Yeah. The only other like really old rye I've had was super fruity, like a fruitcake. This isn't like that either. But while you're enjoying it, let's talk a little bit about what was going on in 1935. When this hooch was distilled in 1931, but then it was put from the barrel into the bottle in 35. So we're focusing on that year. So Secretary of Labor Frances Perkins, the first ever female cabinet secretary, she architected that year the Social Security Act and the National Labor Relations Act that were signed by FDR. So she established unemployment insurance and aid for dependent children in that year. So thank you, Frances. She was the architect of most of the New Deal. Kruger released its cream ale, which was the first beer in a can. Kodachrome color film was invented. And the Coopers sold the first briefs called Jockeys. The first brief underwear. The Hoover Dam was dedicated, and Parker Brothers put out the first edition of the board game Monopoly.
Oh, wow.
Amelia Earhart, aviator, flew solo from Hawaii to California. That wasn't her around the world thing. But, the China Clipper, though, flew across the Pacific for the first time, and radar was first used to detect aircraft. So sorry, I don't have any space news for you, but I got aviation news.
Radar was later than that. Yeah. That's early.
Yeah, good timing.
Right,
right
there
before
like
World War
4 planes to keep track of.
Exactly. Overseas, 1935, the news wasn't quite so good. Nazi Germany stripped Jews of citizenship and their basic rights through the Nuremberg laws and created the Luftwaffe.
Okay.
Italy invaded Ethiopia, and the U.S. passed the Neutrality Act to try to stay out of the growing chaos in Europe, and that totally worked, right?
Yeah.
We stayed out of that. Yep. And entertainment news, to make a lighter note, Frank Capra's It Happened One Night was the first movie to sweep the Big Five Academy Awards. It won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Screenplay. Only 2 other movies have ever done that. Don't ask me which ones, I don't remember. In environmental news, Black Sunday dust storms hit the Great Plains, and that's when the journalists first coined the term Dust Bowl.
Okay.
And presidential candidate and Senator Huey Long was assassinated.
Oh, wow.
Yep. In sports news, first ever Orange Bowl, Sun Bowl, and Sugar Bowl games were played. Do you remember who won? 1935. Respectively, Bucknell, El Paso, and Tulane.
Wow.
Tulane's the only one that's still even a respectable football school. Babe Ruth hit his 714th and last ever home run. The Montreal Maroons swept the Toronto Maple Leafs to win the Stanley Cup. They disbanded 3 years later, so they're still the last now defunct team to win the Stanley Cup.
Okay.
And the trial of the century over the kidnapping and murder of the Lindbergh baby began, and in basically just a month, Richard Hauptmann was tried, convicted, and sentenced to death. In big birth news, 1935, Elvis Presley was born, and Jerry Lee Lewis, both born the same year.
Nice.
And later, Jerry Lee Lewis would go to Graceland with a gun and
try to ram his car.
Appropriately enough for us, that same year, Alcoholics Anonymous was founded. So here's to that.
Oh, man.
Well, yeah, that's what was happening in 1935.
That's interesting.
You know what? This is improving now that it's opened up a little bit.
It's a very cool bottle.
I can't get over that initial metallic.
Yeah.
And it kind of stays with it, too.
Yeah. I wonder if that's a quality of this whiskey. We know air's been in here because it evaporated half the bottle.
Or did this foil like half deteriorate into the whiskey?
Oh, well, I don't know.
There's not much of it.
But yeah, so I do question whether that's an original characteristic of this juice or whether that is something that maybe happened over time.
Right.
But it doesn't ruin the bottle. It's very interesting to drink. Absolutely.
Yeah. And likely the only time in our lives we will have a whiskey from this time.
Yeah.
So thank you to Jim Beam for keeping the name alive, even though the modern product's much different. We like that you're making the Monongahela mash. Maybe specify on there that it's not from Pennsylvania, but other than that, it's good. Maybe I'd also advise maybe a little bit longer in the barrel and a little more higher proof, maybe. But it's good, and especially thank you to Eric Henley for sharing this bottle with us. This is amazing, and I'll definitely bring some back for you to have.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So till next time, y'all.
Wait, first, let's remind them one more time. Make sure you subscribe. Click that button, and please support us on Patreon. We'd love to be able to send you a sample of this or one of our other Dusty videos. So until next time,
keep it dusty.
Keep it dusty. Skull.
All right.